Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Little Bit More podcast with Kevin, because he has a little bit more to say about what we learned yesterday, which was awesome morning. I love the mornings. Obviously, I love every Sunday because it's one of the greatest days of the week. But these special moments we've been having, the second one we've done now, I just think is really amazing. And you get bonus points with the band because they love playing extra songs.
And we're already got the next one playing too. So we got more coming.
They are pumped about that. So, but I know you always put in a lot of preparation and we only give you so much time. And this week you had even less time than normal. Yeah. So you got some extra stuff to tell us.
Yeah. And also it's just good to be back. It felt good to be back. It's been a couple of weeks. So thanks for letting me have a little break, and family went on vacation.
Of course, you need that, man. I mean, everybody needs to get away and have some time to refresh and recharge the batteries.
Yeah.
Especially when, selfishly, you and I both like the beach and warm weather. So
yeah. My son lived in the pool, so it was really fun.
And now I'm sure he's missing having a pool.
Yeah. We get home and I feed him breakfast, and he goes, "Daddy, can I eat my lunch in the pool?" I go, "Dude, we don't have a pool."
We don't have a pool. You can go out back and look for it.
Yeah. Anyways, we started this new series called Summer on the Mount,
which is very clever. Is that a Kevin original, or do you find that somewhere?
I archive a lot of things that might not be 100% original to me, but I think I heard it somewhere. There's the Summer on the Mount. I was like, oh yeah, you can do a whole sermon series.
I love it.
And there's so many good things. And kind of like what we talked about on Sunday, all the stuff on the Sermon on the Mount, it's very convicting. It's high challenge, high response, much like what we talked about in James. But the problem with the Sermon on the Mount for some people that read it is like, well, yeah, I just told you Jesus is all about the do's and don'ts. And that, we have simply missed the heart behind the Sermon on the Mount if that's how we feel towards it. One bit, I wasn't actually planning on saying this, but don't you think it's interesting, at the very beginning, he saw the crowds, and when he went up to the mountain, he sat down?
Yeah, that's super sweet.
Yeah, so actually, I don't know who started this when it came to preaching, that everyone would sit down and the pastor would stand. It used to be reverse. That the crowds would stand to listen and the speaker would sit, which is really a fascinating concept.
That's interesting. So I was going to bring this up. I was thinking about this. Amber and I are watching through The Chosen.
Sure.
We're going through really slowly, so we're behind. But there's a part where they show Jesus prepping for the Sermon on the Mount.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So as a person who plans services, it's almost like you get to see, and we don't know if it happened exactly like this. Sure. They take some artistic right, but to see how Jesus and the disciples and his followers prepped him and for the Sermon on the Mount, almost like it was like prepping for a church service. It really brought it into some context with me, there's so much more of this story we have is what we need. God gave it to us. But all the other backstory I think is fascinating to me about, even they were trying to choose the sash color Jesus was going to wear to see what would pop.
Oh, my goodness. I need to watch this episode.
That's awesome. You do. Yeah. It's really, really well done. But it was sort of the same thing, just those little bits of the story about what was it really like to be there. Can you imagine if you were one of the people that were there listening to Jesus give this amazing sermon?
Yeah.
And fascinating.
And the idea that this is a sermon, right? We're cutting this up into 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So this dude, Jesus,
you've been sitting there for a while. Or standing there for a while.
Yeah, well, they probably were sitting too, but he was sitting talking. That's so cool to, that idea behind it. Anyways, and there's a lot of intentionality, a lot of Easter eggs, hyperlinks, as I like to call them, that go back to the Old Testament, that all these things that we would absolutely miss. If we read it with modern day eyes, we miss so much of Jesus's intention of what's going on here. So we talked about how Jesus, during this redemption resurrection period around Easter, we talked about Jesus being the new Adam. Well, the Sermon on the Mount is the expression of Jesus being the new Moses. And so, and you see it all the way through once you know that. But if you don't have that knowledge of knowing that Jesus is this quote-unquote new Moses, then you miss all of this piece. So the Sermon on the Mount is a reflection, a recalibration of the Ten Commandments. So Moses is given the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai, by God, and he gives it to the Israelites. The Israelites have just gotten out from under the thumb of Egypt. And so there has to be some rules of engagement. Hey, guys, as we're living as a community, we need to have some rules. Like honor your father and mother. Don't kill people, okay? Don't steal people's stuff. Like they have these rules, laws, commandments that they have to follow. And they're all good things. We should be law-abiding citizens. Like we should do those things. But the piece that Jesus interestingly starts the Sermon on the Mount has nothing to do with our conduct. And our society doesn't oftentimes know what to do when we don't talk about what to do. We're always thinking about the next thing, or we're currently doing something that we want to accomplish. And if you just believe the Sermon on the Mount is about the do's and the don'ts, you have totally missed the whole heart. Because really what Jesus is talking about is the character. And I love that when I had that revelation, when I started looking at the Sermon on the Mount, I go, I'm looking at the Sermon on the Mount totally different now. When you look at the first 12 verses, it's radically different. It sets up the stage. It would be like building a house with no foundation. It would be very strange. You would have dirt floors, and most likely it would fall apart, right? The foundation is character, and that your character has to precede your conduct. Otherwise, your conduct is just legalistic, or you don't want to be punished for something. Really, what Jesus is saying is that there has to be an inward transformation, and once that inward transformation happens, you won't be able to help that your behaviors follow. So, there's that song From the Inside Out. That's the Sermon on the Mount.
Yeah,
right cool. There is the inside out. So, like when we talk about the word character, oftentimes, well, I'll ask you, when I say the word character, what synonyms, how would you define the word character?
Okay. Yep. So the first thing I thought of is just like who I am.
Yeah.
What makes Lee Lee? That's my character. But a lot of that comes down to like, you always hear people say like, what do you like when no one's watching you?
Yes. Yeah.
Like not are you the same person? Like some people say, are you the same person in real life as you are when you're
off stage, on
like,
stage, right?
Yeah. I'm like, well, I try to be like, so all those things I think wrap up like who you are.
Yeah.
Who is Lee?
Yep. So we were talking in the staff meeting that, character absolutely is that. 100%. That's not a wrong answer. I would say that's a very right answer. I would say the other thing is the heart of your character is mercy. And that's not a word that we typically use in our society, but that is what, like, if you look at this, all of this doesn't seem right. When it comes to forgiveness, how we should care for the needy, that's what the Sermon on the Mount's all about. The heart behind all of it is mercy.
And that's so beautiful because I was thinking of this when you were talking earlier about following rules. A lot of the other major world religions that millions of people are following are all about just doing things.
Yeah.
Doing this or don't do this.
Yeah.
And they're missing a huge point of this. That's interesting that Jesus kicks off the Sermon on the Mount with that.
So, I mean, Jesus was very intentional, obviously. So I shared this with the staff, and Pastor Connor Orrin came over to me. And he goes, dude, I didn't see this until you were saying it. Like, literally, blessed are the merciful is in the middle of the Beatitudes. It's the center. And he thought I saw that. I didn't see that. And I go, that's even cooler.
Yeah.
That it's the heart.
Yeah.
So 9 times in those 12 verses, it's blessed are, blessed are, blessed are, blessed are. And it goes through different things like blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are the meek, which meek, I think I've defined it on this podcast before, but it's your strength or its power under control. So sometimes you can be a really powerful person, but there's no filter and there's no control over your actions. And it's like kind of the bull in the china shop kind of deal. Think about a stallion, like a horse. So much more power than what they typically let off, right? It's power under control. That's
cool.
what meekness is. And I never liked the word meek because it felt like weakness.
Yeah.
Like a meek person feels like this. It's a very humble person, but it almost feels like weakness. It's not weakness.
Yeah. Meek is not weak.
blessed are those who have their power under control.
It's cool.
Would be a way to say it. But yeah, so there's on Sunday we talked about the whole difference between character and conduct, and then we talked about the blessing things. But the thing I wanted to kind of discuss a little bit is kind of these 5 statements that when I was sitting down, I've been sitting with this passage in the Sermon on the Mount for several months. But the last couple of weeks, I felt like God gave me these statements that if you heard them wrongly, it would be like, oh, it's a call to perfection. No, not a goal. It's not a call to perfection. Perfection is never the goal.
Yeah, it's unattainable.
I don't think it's God's goal, and it's definitely not my goal as a communicator, as a pastor. That's not the heart. It is a surrendered heart. It's obedience. It's maturity. It's growth. Those are the things. That's what we're aiming towards. And so we had kind of these 5 statements, and I took the statements. So basically, I took the Beatitudes and I cut them into 2s, basically.
Okay.
So I had 3 and 4. 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9 and 10, and then 11 and 12 is kind of the ending portion. But I want to read these, and then anyone that you want to discuss afterwards, we can. But they're really uncomfortable statements for me to read because some of them just aren't true about me, right? And that's where we're like, man, if we're putting the Beatitudes in modern day language, this is what I feel like it would be. And you can put your own name in there. Kevin is humble in spirit, deeply aware of his dependence on God. Or you could read it, I am humble in spirit, deeply aware of my dependence on God. So that's the first one. And that would be, verses 3 and 4. So then going on, I am gentle and steadfast, grounded in a longing for God's righteousness, so that you have this right relationship with God. I'm merciful and pure in heart, open to seeing God's presence. Are you open to seeing who he is? Where do you see God throughout your week? We talked about this in men's breakfast a couple Saturdays ago, but asking yourself at the end of the day, where did I see Jesus today? It's that whole story about the road to Emmaus, is that they didn't even know they were walking with Jesus. Asking yourself, where did I see you today, Jesus? I'm a peacemaker, and so we've talked a lot about the difference between a peacemaker and a peacekeeper, but I'm a peacemaker marked by steadfastness in the face of challenges. Sometimes for us, it's easier to speak truth when the whole room is with us. But when the room is against us, we either keep our mouth shut or feel like we almost have to be confrontational. Are you willing to be a peacemaker even when the room's going to disagree with you?
Big question, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm joyful in Christ, secure in my eternal identity and reward. Right? It's that God's going to keep his promises. It's the already not yet. Like, this has already been accomplished, but we haven't all seen it unfold yet. So those statements, I keep them in my Bible, and here's the encouragement as we go through this series, is that we would come back to these because they're the foundational character pieces. That it's not all about our conduct and it's not all about perfection, but we have to have some type of goal or measuring stick of like, okay, is Kevin Brown humble? Is Kevin Brown secure in God's promises? And those are questions I need to reflect on. It's not someone else's job, right? Now we make it our job sometimes and we think, well, they aren't doing what they should do, right? You may not see the fruit, but this is a reflective about me. This is a reflective about you personally, is what does this look like? So I don't know if any of those resonate or those ideas or themes resonate.
Yeah, I mean, all of them, as you read them all, the thing that kept coming back to my mind is sort of is Jesus first, others second, yourself last. All of that's putting yourself last, every one of those.
Yep.
And so often, like, humanity makes us think of ourselves first, and we get everything out of control. But all those things made me think, what am I doing to love God first and love others second and let the rest fall into place?
Yeah.
I always do marriage, whenever I do wedding ceremonies for people, I do marriage counseling with them and talk about that. How do you find joy in your life? Jesus, others, yourself, joy. It's like you have to have it in that order, or else you're always going to be out of balance. And all those things Jesus is talking about is, let's love God first and love other people better than you're loving yourself, and you're going to be taken care of.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the rest of this summer. I'm looking forward to seeing us unpacked and not have to rush through it. That's why I love this. Like, we got time. So I did want to tell people, summer obviously comes with vacations. People are traveling, doing stuff. Just a reminder, make sure you downloaded our Church Center app or go to our website. All of these sermons series are on there. So if you miss one,
the video or the
catch
or the
up.
audio, yeah.
Maybe listen to it when you're out on vacation, whatever. Just like we want to make sure you're on this journey with us from start to finish, because it's going to be powerful. I mean, this is, whenever you don't know what to study, go back to the teachings of Jesus, and this is the most famous sermon that Jesus ever taught. So I'm so pumped to be able to spend some time in it.
Yeah, and he didn't come to abolish the law. He came to fulfill it.
Mm-hmm.
He came to recalibrate it. He came to show us, hey, there's so much life in this way of living. And that's the beautiful piece of it.
Yeah, it's to bring us freedom.
Yeah. I was talking to a buddy, a pastor buddy up in Michigan, and his words, I don't know that I can say them verbatim, but basically what he said was, mature believers love conviction. Because the conviction brings you in a deeper relationship with Jesus and ultimately makes you look more like him.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we're like, oh, the pastor's just telling us what to do, or the Bible is just all about do's and don'ts. No, it's a conviction that's inviting you into a relationship.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you see it that way, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. It will bring you freedom in your life, not restriction.
Yeah. And something else that came to mind, and I'll probably say this a little bit throughout the series, but it reminds me of something that Matt Schwartz he has said it in the elder room. He has said it to me as we're talking about leadership, but I know he talks about it at SDI with his employees, is that, does your audio, does it match your video? And I go, that's such a good saying. And I don't know if he stole it from someone else, but that's really the heart, right? Like, is the things that are coming in your mouth, does it match everything else?
I like that.
One of the most annoying things, if you're streaming like a TV show or whatever, and the lips are just a little bit off.
Yeah,
maybe you're watching this podcast,
you can't pay attention to anything.
Your Wi-Fi's not very good. It's like, if it's off slightly, it is so distracting.
Mm-hmm.
But is my life distracting to someone who doesn't know the Lord because my audio and my video are off? And I'm like, man, that's such
cool.
a conviction.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, so we're going to be diving into a lot of Jesus' teachings, but we have to understand the foundation, that it's a character conversation. It's a heart conversation. It's what's happening within that will flow out.
Yeah.
So,
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm pumped about it, man. Summer on the Mount.
Yes. Summer on the Mounts.
It's here.
Yes.
So,
and shout out to Max. The graphics awesome. It has
it is awesome.
Like a Tron vibe to it. I love the old school movies. So.
Yep. Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for sharing with us a little bit more. We look forward to seeing you all at church and around the neighborhood. Until then, we'll see you.
Ciao.